Hey guys, I'm Chris Buck, and a very warm welcome to Friday Fretworks. The Les Paul Custom was introduced in late 1953, only a year after the grand unveiling of the signature solid body guitar for one Lester Pulfus, aka Les Paul. The Les Paul Custom was intended to be the top of the line Les Paul, and as such had several fitting appointments, namely an ebony fingerboard, triple apply binding, a new ABR1 bridge and tailpiece, a solid mahogany body, skinny flat frets meant to enhance its playability, also leading to the nickname the Fretless Wonder, block inlays, gold hardware, an Alnico 5 staple pickup in the neck, we'll come back to that in a minute, as well as a split diamond inlay on the headstock, taken straight from Gibson's Super 400, their very top of the line guitar. That famous black finish, hence the nickname the Black Beauty, was apparently at the behest of Les Paul himself, who, aside from wanting a guitar with the class and sophistication of a tuxedo, also wanted a guitar that made it abundantly clear what his hands were doing for the likes of TV audiences at the time. While Peter Frampton's guitar of course has 3 humbuckers, it originally dates back to 1954 and as such would have originally come equipped with a P90 in the bridge and an Alnico 5 staple pickup in the neck. Now of course much has been made of the staple pickup over the years, its construction, its tonal characteristics and how it differs to a standard P90, but the reality is that it was a somewhat hasty invention on Gibson's part to save face, their star endorsee, Les Paul, being something of a loose cannon and having a penchant for changing the pickups in his own Les Pauls, from P90s to his preferred Diamond pickups that you were getting in Gretsch guitars at the time. Clearly a little bit embarrassed by the situation, Gibson hastily designed the staple pickup, which, in terms of construction and its sound, bears an uncanny resemblance to the Diamond pickup that Les was so fond of. The only real significant change to the Custom would come in 1957 with the introduction of the PAF, patent applied for, humbucking pickup as designed by Seth Lover. Now, as much as most modern day reissues of the Custom show a dual pickup version, it was actually much more common in the late 50s for the 3 pickup version to leave the factory, which is where today's example, as I said, taken from 1957 and remarkable for 2 reasons, not only its near immaculate condition, but the fact that the electronics have remained untouched. Needless to say, it was a very common modification for people to mess around with the electronics, and a little bit confused as to what they were getting with the 3 pickup version, and as such it's probably worth explaining that. In the up position, in your rhythm position, you have the neck pickup in isolation. When the pickup selector is down, in the treble position, you have the bridge pickup in isolation. When the selector is in the middle position, however, you have both the middle pickup and the bridge pickup simultaneously wired to a kind of master volume on the normal bridge pickup control, on the bridge pickup pot, but both pickups running in parallel, as you would expect with maybe a Stratocaster. However, due to the pickups' proximities to each other, you get an unusual phase relationship where their magnetic fields overlap, and as such you get a slight cancellation of the low frequencies, giving you that stratty, quacky, wiry sound that you just heard in the last clip. Now in this next clip, I'm going to take you through each pickup position in turn. When the Les Paul as we know it was discontinued in 1960 in favour of the new Les Paul, the SG as we know it today, the Les Paul name was carried over, still taking pride of place on a plaque just above the pickups. However, when Les' endorsement deal ended with Gibson in 1963, his name was taken off the guitars simply becoming SG Custom, and as a consequence, for a brief 5-year period between 63 and 68, technically speaking, no Les Paul guitar was in production. However, not only the Les Paul, but specifically the Les Paul Custom was to have a swan song, or 2 swan songs. First in 1968 with the first reissue of the Les Paul, when, as a consequence of a glut of burst players bringing the Les Paul back to popularity and prominence throughout the late 60s, Clapton, Mike Bloomfield, Keith Richards and Peter Green to name but a few, one of the options Gibson made available was a 2-pickup black custom. But then in 1975, in what a lot of you no doubt think of as the kind of quintessential Les Paul custom, Gibson introduced the Alpine White and Cream finishes, favoured by the likes of Randy Rhoads, James Dean Bradfield, Billy Duffy, The Edge, Justin Hawkins, Steve Clark, Steve Jones, Buckethead and Lindsey Buckingham, while the black custom would go on to find favour with the likes of Jimmy Page, Ace Frehley, Robert Fripp, Mark Bolan, Al Di Meola, John Sykes and, of course, Peter Frampton, bringing us full circle. In recent years, there have of course been reissues aplenty, most prominently Tool's Adam Jones recreation of his 1979 Silverburst Les Paul Custom. However, it's interesting to see that despite burst replicas still very much being front and centre in Gibson's Les Paul lineup, it's great to see that, still at the top of the pile, one of the most expensive Les Pauls you can currently buy at £4,300, is the Les Paul Custom, which, funnily enough, when you account for inflation, is pretty much exactly what you would have paid for one in 1957. As ever, I'm Chris Buck. I'm going to play you out now with the 57. Thank you very much for watching. This is Friday Fretworks. Please subscribe, hit the bell icon if you haven't already, and I shall see you next week for another Les Paul orientated episode. Cheers guys, take care, see you soon.